So, next project. My child was rummaging, and she found this, and she's like, "Oh my God, a cardigan! I love it!" And I'm like, yeah, sure, a cardigan, honey." And then she says, "And it just has this one little hole." And I said, "Oh, whoa," and started looking, and more hole, more hole. All the hole. So, mending and decorating the crap out of it. Flowers are the theme. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this. Also tacking down this facing because my goodness, it just gets in the way. Side quest. I washed and dried it, and then I was cutting off the tag, very itchy tag, and find this, have her try it on again. We're making it bigger is what we're doing, in addition to decorating it and mending it. But this is a decent match. Yay! Why am I making a snuggly cardigan in the height of summer in a record-setting drought? No clue. It'll be nice to have when the seasons change. Also, it's making me happy to use up this pair of very old pajama shorts of hers. And I can use them for the patches on the inside. So, I sewed the patches around their big rectangular selves on the inside of the garment, right? And now I'm sewing around the edges of the holes, because otherwise, yes. So on the outside of the garment, I'm sewing around the edges of the holes, and I will be relying heavily on decoration to hide all of this. But that'll be the fun part. Alright, this has been stabilized for further shenanigans. The smocking randomly cuts off here, so I feel like a line following that and then doing something would be a good place to add just a little bit of fabric on each side. Alright, just cut, and there, and there, and the leftover bits will go on the cuffs. And hopefully that'll tie everything together. This is just a leftover scrap from an unrelated upcycle. It's rayon, and I don't know, works. I am using embroidery floss to add these panels in, and I have my doubts about that as a material, but it's the only way I could get the color to match up. And I figured, just like with the super thin, flimsy patches, we're going to be adding so much stuff on the outside of this, I'm pretty sure that it... Come on. Can't talk and do things at the same time, can I? That it won't matter. There's going to be so much going on that I believe things will be held together by chaos. Is it way too early to be thinking about beads? Yes, absolutely. I was putting little blobbies of leftover this fabric down, just kind of all vibes, making plans in a tactile way, and then I got carried away and was like, oh, let's add this to modify the shape of this blobby, and I don't know, this is probably going to get chaotic. So, on the one hand, I still have holes, and on the other, I don't know, I feel like just building up layers. It's how I paint, so it feels like the right approach. I'm sure I should emphasize that I don't really know what I'm doing, like especially so at the moment. My thought is that with these random shapes, I can do a kind of background chaos, just additional texture layer, and then we'll move on to more interesting bits here in a minute. This backside very deeply clipped so I can fold it under and make a narrower curve. Okay, while I was taking my time adding some, I don't know, an extra line and some sparkle, I may have had a minor epiphany. I hope so. Let's find out together. There we go. See? Yay, another embroidered line. I really wanted to use this scrap of velvet that I found, and I didn't want to deal with folding the edges under to make flower petals, right? So it's tall enough that I can just make a stripe of it back here. Now, will I have to detach this and then sew it back down again? Yes, I'm willing to do that. And then we will have a very fuzzy, dramatic area of contrast. Or does it want to be kind of inset into the piece? And make everything even wider and swingier. I don't know. Or we could put it on the cuffs. Cut it in half on each one, and then have a few little bits and bobs for elsewhere. That's even more dramatic. I kind of love it. For the flowers, we have this yellowish bedsheet. Most of it went to making a apron for my sister, but this will do fine for some accent pieces for this shirt. And then this was a lace tablecloth that has a very large jagged hole in it, and so all that lace will become other cool things. And for the petals, which will get layered over these raw edges, what are you doing? Stop that. Sorry, rabbit drama. This was a silk pillowcase, because my child's hair has a fair amount of texture and needed that help, and so that is a completely worn out silk pillowcase that's going to get cut up and used for flower petals. As an aside, I'm absolutely taking all of those tiny little scraps of velvet and scattering them around the composition like confetti, and that way they will be all used up. Yay! Also, like visual harmony, etc. I tried to do the petals, like a whole string of petals, and because I figured it'd be quicker, and that turned out really bad, really ugly. And so I hid that mistake under some loose petals, and I'm continuing with fussy, one at a time, irregularly shaped single petals in pink silk. I tried a few different things with the fuzzy bits for the flowers, just live, and I've decided that even though it'll slow me way down, they really need the white beads on some of them, like every third one. Probably. And then after that, well, we've got everything patched. We've got the flowers intact. I've got this much embroidery floss that I don't want to wind up and restore a tiny bit. So we're using all this up, and a couple more bits of velvet and a few more petals to just scatter around, make things look like they're falling apart. So obviously we have launched this thing into hand wash only territory, which I'm perfectly fine with. Also, I have no idea why I'm making a fairly warm thing in the height of summer. It just happened that way. And it'll get worn, just not, in the coming weeks. In semi-related things, I seem to be gravitating more towards time-consuming things, and I think this is because I've been sewing for long enough now that I have plenty of clothes, right? I'm not in a hurry to make even weather-appropriate things because they've just accumulated over the years, which is a really cool place to be, and I promise will happen to you. It doesn't feel like it at the beginning of your sewing journey, but give it a few years and all of a sudden you don't need There's not that need, that drive. There's the, oh, this would be cool sort of feeling. And you can take your time with it. And if you want, make truly ridiculous things like this. So we got to keep this really fantastic button placket, this smocking, the embroidery, and we made things bigger and ever so much more visually interesting. Let's look at it. Alright, this is not a height of summer shirt, and clearly she is done with my crap. Child, would show off the article of clothing, please. And the front without your angry hands on hips. Look at the sleeves and the bits of velvet. Alright, baby is happy? Ish.